Art here, doing a little video tutorial on modern language association and quotations. This week we're doing a discussion on Gotama chapter in Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha, and I'm going to ask you to not only quote a passage from the novel, but I would also like you to use a secondary source. We'll talk about that more later. But I would just like to go through with you how to punctuate and frame a quotation in MLA format. It says here, quotations are effective in research papers when used selectively. Quote words, phrases, lines, and passages that are particularly apt, supportive, and illustrative to what you are attempting to argue or convey. Overquotation can bore your readers and might lead them to conclude that you are neither an original thinker nor skillful writer. When you mention an author's name while introducing quoted material, you do not have to repeat the name in the parenthetical note. So if you notice in this example here, if you mention the author's name in the frame, meaning as you're introducing the quote, author Hermann Hesse writes in his book Siddhartha 1922, that's the date of publication. So when you first introduce a book or a novel, you always give the date, first date of publication. It was published in Germany in 1922. Comma, quote, even though Siddhartha made everyone happy, he was not happy. Parenthetical note 4, period. Frame the quote. So this passage shows, this passage proves. Always tell me or your reader how your quote proves your assertion. Never quote as an explanation. Never quote as a reason. You quote as evidence and backing. Reasons and explanation are in your own words and through your own analysis. So notice something about the parenthetical note and punctuation. If you do not mention the author's name within the body of the essay, you must give the author's name within the parenthetical note. So, parentheses on both sides. This is what's known as the parenthetical note. The author's name and the page number are separated by a single type space. Page numbers are not preceded by P period or PP period or by a comma. So we're not introducing Hermann Hesse, but we are introducing the title of the chapter as part of our frame. In the chapter, The Brahmin's Son, it states, even though Siddhartha made everyone happy, he was not happy. Hesse, 4, period. Notice no period after happy. The period goes after the parenthetical note. This excerpt proves, so now you're telling me how the quote is proving your claim, showing how it supports what you have to say. Remember the Stephen Tomlin model: claim, support, warrant, backing. These quotes are backing. This is evidence. Some of you are using quite long quotes, so quotes longer than 4 lines. Type lines requires a 10-spaced indentation, which is 2 tabs on your computer. Here is a secondary source. This is a person who is considered an expert source on the novels of Hermann Hesse. In the novels of Hermann Hesse, A Study in Theme and Structure, 1965, comma, that's the year it was published. The author agrees that the river is a force in Siddhartha's self-actualization, period. Offset, so here's a quote longer than 4 lines. You indent, right? 5, 10 spaces. Then you quote, notice no quotation marks. And also notice with this longer quote, a period before the parenthetical note. The author's name is Zelkowski, that's his last name. Where you can find this is on page 152, period. Once again, framing the quote, this passage confirms. How does the evidence support what you have to say? Notice the parenthetical note is placed outside the final punctuation mark, and there are no quotation marks. So longer quotes, since you're indenting, you don't need to have quotation marks. Also, if you're using a credible internet source that does not list the page number, the parenthetical citation would cite the name of the author. For example, in the article, The Four Noble Truths, the author states, the fourth of the Four Noble Truths leads the individual to embrace the Eightfold Path. However, there is no right love in the 8 steps, and that's from Barbara O'Brien. This proves the above in-text citations must be listed alphabetically by author on a separate page, which is known as your works cited. And you guys have been doing a works cited with your discussions. So this week we'll have 2 sources, not only Hermann Hesse, but we'll have another source. Also, with that secondary source, you can use the Canvas notes, and I'll show you how to do that. So we've quoted Hermann Hesse in this example. We've quoted Barbara O'Brien, who is an authority on Buddhism and Buddhism theory. And we've quoted Theodore Zelkowski. He's another source, the novels of Hermann Hesse, a study in theme and structure. So this is a print copy. This is from the web. Hermann Hesse's novel is, of course, a print copy as well. So you have all these sources listed, right, to illustrate these quotes inside your MLA format. Okay, I would now like to go through with you this week's discussion. So the discussion has to do with Gotama, who is the Buddha. Siddhartha believes that there is a flaw in the Buddhist theory. So this week you'll have to look at Buddhism and the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. I sent you via inbox attachment the Four Noble Truths. Also, I attached this template that you can follow for the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path and this particular question with the Gotama chapter, and how to cite Canvas notes. So here you have your heading, title, following the Stephen Tolman model. And at one point you're going to, in the Gotama chapter, the Buddha says, direct quote, Hess 35. And then somewhere you're going to use a secondary source. And if you don't want to use the 3 sources that I listed in the MLA quotations tutorial, you can use the lecture notes. So here, Buddhist philosophy suggests, a direct quote, Stoddard, last name, that's the person who created the notes, that's me. And then this is how you would cite the lecture module in Canvas. Stoddard Kent Lecture Notes 3, Module 3, English 101, 2018 Canvas. This is the URL. And then you probably accessed it sometime this week, September 17th, 2020. So this week, we are citing 2 sources. We are going to do it correctly with the MLA format, with the proper punctuation of a parenthetical citation. We're going to have 2 sources, Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha, and if you want to, you can use the lecture notes, or I would suggest for this week's discussion, you might want to look at a Buddhist site that discusses Buddhist philosophy and the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. All right, that's the tutorial for this week. If you have any questions, make sure that you either email me, send a message in inbox, and of course, you have my phone number on the syllabus. I've had a few students text me, and I text them right back. All right, thank you.